All good show. Lucas here for a chat. My name is Denise Belisle, and I'm a Serenity expert and positive intelligence specialist. I'm super excited to be here today with you as every Monday. And today I have a special guest. It's Brenda Marie Sheldrake. Eventually I'll get it. Sheldrake. That's okay. It's all good, right? That's why we're here. And the reason why I call this show It's All Good, it's mainly because of my cup. It says it's all good. And saying that, it made me think of a person that has a company, and the name of the company is certain name. And I say, well, how did you get up to the name? You say, oh, that's my dog's name. So, so there's always a reason why people call their company a certain name or their show a certain name. And for me, it's my cup, but also it's more than that. It's about the way I think all the time. Whenever stuff happened to me, whether it just happened and now it's the past because it 1 second ago is the past, right? So then I say, hey, it's all good. I can't change it. It's past. I can't change the past. So all I'm looking at is like, now what's good about it? What's the gift in that? How can I move forward with this, whatever that is that happened, whether it's 5 seconds, 5 years, 5 decades ago? I can't change it, even though in our mind, you and I know we're doing that. We try to change the situation, the conversation that was done. Oh, I could have said that. I should have said that. Why did he say that? It was really upsetting. I wish he didn't say that. So we go on and circle in the spiral of doom. But once you realize that you can't change it, then you say, hey, it's all good. What have I learned from this situation and how can I move forward? And then talking about moving forward, we're looking at the future and we try to predict the future. We have like that crystal ball there. We try to have a crystal ball so we can like, whoo, what's the future and what's going to happen? And then you predict conversation, you predict event, you predict, how people are going to react with one another. But in reality, we can't do that either. So we can plan for the future. Planning is awesome. You have a plan, you have a map, you have a system. Actually, I have a system called the breakthrough system where I guide you to make a plan. But as you step into that plan, you have to be flexible and movable so that things happen. Excuse my French, but shit happen. And sometimes things don't happen the way you've planned. Then you got to be flexible. And guess what? Now you say, it's all good. We'll find a solution. So that's why this show, it's called It's All Good. That's why it's my philosophy. And that's why I have amazing guests coming here every week to give you their insight, their tricks, their tips on how to live your life so that live as it's all good. I also have a YouTube channel, so I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can watch all the other videos that I've created. Make sure you click on subscribe and the little bell beside it so you're being notified whenever I have new videos. I have these little short video that I create from Tuesday to Friday and some more, so that to give you tips and knowledge about things that I've learned over the years that I bring forward to support you. And if you ever think that you would like to be on the show, or if you have, you want to talk with me because whatever I've talked about in this show triggered you, or you want to some coaching while I'm here, I'm offering like a 45 minutes call with you so we can explore where you're at, what you're doing, and if there's any way I can support you. So my guest today, as I mentioned, is Brenda Marie Sheldrake, and we'll call her Brenda. And she's a lead generation specialist. So in any business, we're always looking for new leads because that's how we get new clients. A lead for business entrepreneur is a client, a potential client. So once you have a lead, then you can talk with them and tell them about your service. Just like I ask you now to contact me and book a call with me, then you would be a lead. And then that lead may lead to you hire me, or maybe you know someone that could hire me. So that's how lead generation works. But Brenda, she's the specialist. So let's bring her in and she'll tell us all about leads. So Brenda, welcome to the show.
Hello, I'm happy to be with you.
I'm so glad that we were able to make it. It was like touch and go for a little bit, but we made it. We connect, we got together. I'm so excited because I remember when we first had our talk a few weeks back, I was really excited about what you were talking about. And we all need leads, whether you're even if you don't have a business. In my mind, you need leads because you might need someone to dog sit your dog when you're going on vacation. You might need a lead for someone to cut your grass. Hey, do you know anyone that cut grass? You might need a lead for someone to repair your roof. These are all leads, right? So in some way they are. So Brenda, please describe, who you are, where you're from, and what led you to become a lead generation specialist.
Well,
The floor is yours.
thank you so much. So I'm in Mississauga, Ontario,
Mm.
Canada. So I was in your city just last week on a stopover on a layover from a flight that I was taking, but it
Oh,
was only for a very short time, so I could
oh.
connect and get to
I could
meet
have
you in
waved to
person.
you. I live right by the airport. I said, Brenda.
Yes. Yes. And I call myself a lead generation strategist, and the reason that I got into this field, I was working with families who had children with disabilities, and I wanted them to know about a specific product that would change their lives. But one of the things that I discovered very early on was that people had a lot of experiences in their life that caused them to doubt my message, the validity and my authority in the message. And so I needed to find a way to connect with people more effectively so that they would believe me, they would trust me, and they would be open to having the conversation. And so what I did was I explored different options. And at first, the message I got over and over again was just talk to lots of people. Some will be
Mhm.
open, you'll find people.
Oh, yeah.
But that's very time consuming.
Yeah, my second point is like, okay, where do you find all these people, right?
Exactly. Then you're left with searching for all of these people, and you go to a lot of networking events, you have a lot of coffee chats, and a
Hmm.
lot of times, I'm sure for people who are viewing this, some of you have had coffee chats where it went totally a different direction than what you expected. The
Hmm.
person who came on had an intention of selling you their product, or they had an intention of sharing their ideas more than being open to hearing yours.
Yeah.
And so I met a man, and he taught me he helped me to refine a skill that I already had. I am fabulous at getting to know people, talking to people,
Hmm.
finding out about them, and having conversations. And he helped me to take that and turn it into a skill that allowed me to generate 3,000 qualified leads in 1 year.
Wow, that's a lot. Qualified. That's the thing, right? You can have lead, which is, like as you were mentioning, having like three coffee shop a day, and then you coffeeed out and you wasted, the week talking to people. I just want to talk about their pretty dogs, you know.
Yes. Yes. And you're so right about that, because basically a lead is a name and phone number. If
Hmm.
you've got if you've got a Rolodex, if you've got a cell phone, if you've got a contact list any place, then you have, and this may sound like I'm talking myself out of business, but you have tons of leads yourself.
Yeah, I have like probably 5,000 leads in there.
But there's a huge difference between the leads you have in your phone and people who are actually qualified leads. Because a
Hmm.
qualified lead doesn't guarantee you that the person's going to buy from you. What a qualified lead is someone who is open to hearing your presentation.
Hmm. Hmm.
So when you go to the networking event and you listen to somebody make a presentation, and you reach out to them, and they share a problem or pain point,
Hmm.
and you reach out to them and you say, I think I have a solution, a possible solution to your problem. Would you be open to having a conversation about it? Now you've qualified that person. The
Yeah.
person is willing to listen.
Yeah. Yeah. So when did you actually started? When did you met that amazing guy, and when did you started this business?
I met him 10 years ago.
Mm.
I started the whole business. I started practicing this system 9 years ago. I started learning
Yeah.
with him 9 years ago. And just before COVID was the year that I had my 3,000. I hit my 3,000 because I started to really put effort into doing what I knew worked. Instead of listening to everybody who said, throw the spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks, I went, no, I'm tired of having spaghetti stuck to my wall. So
Or
I
not.
said,
You're
I'm going to
tired to have
practice
spaghetti on
what I
the
know.
floor.
That's right. It falls on the floor eventually.
I mean,
It leaves sticky streaks all over your wall.
yeah.
All of those things.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to practice what I know works, because I had every time I practiced it, I would have success, but I wasn't sticking to it. And that's a tip for anybody who's watching. If anybody you coach with, if you're anybody you're coaching with, if they suggest something and you commit to it, commitment doesn't mean trying it for a week or two.
Yeah.
You've got to put more time into it than that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a commitment is something that you would, no matter what, you would keep doing it. It's like weight reduction, right? People go on a diet for 2 weeks and they say, that doesn't work, and then they say, okay, fine, I'm gonna eat, and then they gain more weight than they've had before before the whole thing started, because it's just like, that doesn't work. Or going to the gym, right? You want to build muscle, you go there 3 times, you go 1 week 3 times, or you go every day that week, and you look, it's like on Saturday, it's like, that stuff doesn't work. Then you stop doing it. So it required a great change, required commitment for the long run and not the short run, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I started having those, excuse me, there's something going on with my voice today. I love your cup because it's so good.
It's all good. And it's big too. Look at that. It's huge.
Yes.
And there's about,
Wow.
900 ml of water in there.
So I started practicing the strategy. I started using the strategy. And when I want to add something about those 3,000. When I generated those 3,000 leads, that was more than I could effectively serve by myself in 1 year. So what I ended up doing was I ended up turning to associates, people I worked with, and saying, can you help some of these people too? Because when you're working with people with disabilities, you don't want them to have to wait. When COVID hit, it totally changed my business model.
I imagine. So it changed a lot of people's business model.
It did. It was much more challenging. I was able to do Zoom calls with families to talk to them about their finances, but even with my relationship building levels, it still was hard to convince brand new people to sit down on a Zoom and talk to you about where they were at as far as finances. So what I did was I started slowly pivoting, and I realized that people were asking me, how did you generate those 3,000 leads? How did you do it? How did you do it? I realized I had a marketable product, and I started coaching people on it. I started helping people with that.
So what is
that's where we've been ever since.
Oh, great. So that's like 3 years, like by the time you pivot and all that. That's cool. So what is the number one key that someone could start, if they wanted to say, okay, well, what do I do? Like, how do I find these qualified leads? Like, because, yeah, it's nice to have saying, 3,000 qualified lead, but how do you sort them out of the crowd, right?
So the first thing, I do recommend networking events. I recommend attending, and I attend about 3 networking events a week. When I go to networking events, though, I'm not looking for someone to buy from me that day. There's only one networking event. It's a combination networking and sales event. And at that event, I go to make sales. That's called Selling on the Spot Marketplace. And I was a licensee with them for 3 years. But when I go to a regular networking event where they say the policy is no selling, please, I'm actually happy, because I go in and I have the conversations about who are you? What are you interested in? What can I find out? My objective, and this is one of the really important things, is to listen twice as much as I talk. Similar to the way you're doing this interview, where you ask a question and then you listen to my answer and ask a next question. I basically go to networking events and I interview people. I ask them questions, and then the people that I find interesting,
Yeah.
I make note of, and then I go home and I do a little more research. I look up their LinkedIn, I look up their Facebook, I look for a YouTube channel. I see what they've been talking about. I see whether there's a possibility for us to work together
Mm-hmm.
as a joint venture,
Yeah.
or are they someone that I can help? Are they somebody who they could use some more leads maybe? Once I've done that, I ask them if they'd be open to booking a one-to-one. And when I book my one-to-one, I still know that there is every possibility that I'm going to listen more than I'm going to talk, because it's
Mm-hmm.
the initial call. This is a process. It's not a one and done. You don't book one meeting and have a relationship with somebody. Are you married?
No.
Okay. But I think you've probably dated.
I did.
So when you date somebody, you don't go out for coffee and say, let's get married.
No. It's very
Right?
rare. That
It
people
is.
would do that.
And even the people who have love at first sight, right? They say, oh, it
Mm-hmm.
was love at first sight. I knew I was in love. They
Yeah.
probably still didn't say, let's go to the chapel right now and get
Yeah.
married.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you're in Vegas and you're drunk, but that's another story altogether.
Totally, totally. So it's the same thing with this relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, one of the strong objections, I'll just share with you one of the strong objections people have to relationship building for lead generation, is one of their strongest objections is, well, that sounds like it takes a long time. And my answer to that is, how long do you want your customer to last?
Mm-hmm.
If you're
Mm-hmm.
transactional, if you want to sell them your cup and never see them again,
No, I don't want to
because
sell
that's
my
the
cup.
one thing that you sell,
I'm not selling it.
then don't worry. A relationship building is probably not
Yeah.
your
If
best
it's a
method.
one of, yeah.
But if you want, even if you want to sell them your cup, but you want them to come back and then buy the full set of dishes, if you want them to tell all their friends how great the cup is,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then build relationships. I
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
it creates leads that last and clients that stick.
Mm-hmm. Well, my main question is what you described there. It sounds very similar to just regular networking. So, what's the difference between the regular networking where you've sat for, you know, tons of coffee chat and Zoom chat and not generate lead, and what you're doing now? So, what's the difference between the two?
Some of it is in the questions that you ask.
Okay.
So
But you still have that coffee shop, or you could qualify them prior to going to a coffee shop?
yes, in that initial meeting, you are doing some qualification, right?
In the
So when you
networking
go
event.
to, you're still going to have to go to networking events. Well,
Yeah, of
actually, you
course.
don't have to go to networking events. I do lead generation on Zoom. I do lead generation when I'm on Zoom calls. I do lead generation when I go on Facebook. So I look at Facebook profiles. I look at what people are posting. If people are posting things that speak to my audience that I think can help. So one of the leads that I look for right now is I look for experts who can help entrepreneurs to stay in business, because
Mm-hmm.
I have a community with a focus on helping entrepreneurs in year 1 to 3 stay in business no matter what. Now, I could teach them lead generation, but I think that if you have 100 leads, but you get faced with another challenge and you give up your business, then your 100 leads aren't of much value. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, let's create something bigger. And I started creating a community. And in order to create my community, I had to find people who were experts, who could do master classes for me. And so I went to LinkedIn, I went to Facebook, and I prospected there in addition to the networking. Because here's the thing that I discovered. If you go to a Zoom networking event and you say, I'm looking for an expert in LinkedIn, everybody who does LinkedIn is going to tell you they're an expert.
It's so different.
but you don't know if they're an expert or not.
Yeah.
But if you go through LinkedIn and you see the kind of things that people are sharing and posting, and they may very well be experts, but they may not be experts that would speak to your people.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at their LinkedIn profiles, I see what they're posting there. And that's my part of my qualification process. Do they match my people? Do they match my demographic? Are they offering something? So if I'm working with an audience that's paying $25 for something, is their lowest priced offer that they offer $10,000? If that's the case, they could bring great value to my audience, but my audience may not be buying for what they're offering.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at those things as well. One of my other qualifications that I've just recently added in, because my experts all invite, is I say, how big is your mail list?
Uh-huh.
Because if you don't have a mailing list of at least 200 people, then you're not going to be reaching out to people to attend.
Yeah.
So your questions will evolve as your business evolves.
Mm-hmm.
There's some key questions, though, if you're looking for someone to do a joint venture with you, then if you don't ask them, and you can ask them that right away, are you open to joint ventures? Right? You can send them a message before you request the one-to-one. You could say, are you open to joint ventures?
Yeah.
If they say no, I do everything on my own, then you may or may not want to talk to them.
So, for example, we're talking about lead generation. So now you're talking about what I hear is a lot of business to business or something similar. Like for me, for example, I'm a Serenity expert. I work with empty nesters or soon to be. So my lead would be empty nesters or soon to be as for clients. And my joint venture could be an array of people. It could be like a travel agent, right? A realtor, right? It could be a accountant or not accountant, but investment strategist. It could be like all these things that a relationship expert, meaning like I can do that, but let's say I can't. Like somebody that would help intramarital problem because now they face one-to-one, their face, and but I can do that. But let's say, for example, I don't. So so marital problems, so then or a sex therapist, who knows what, right? Like these could be all my joint venture. But also I'm looking for lead as for people that are soon to be empty nesters or empty nesters. So how would I qualify? May as well get you to coach me here, like if other people can identify themselves listening to that. So how would I go and look for qualified lead, which would be for me, for clients, for example, people that are either soon to be empty nesters or they are now empty nesters and they're having a hard time because the kids left the house and there's a whole bunch of stuff that is happening in their life. So how would I find those qualified leads?
So one of the ways that when I'm directly looking for those people, one of the ways that I do that is by looking for podcasts, looking for opportunities to share a message. And it's not a sales message, but it's a message that would be appealing to people who are empty nesters.
Okay.
So you talk about a concept or an idea that would resonate with empty nesters. And then you look at the people who comment. If you did a podcast, like I'm going to look at the people who comment on this when it airs. And when it's on YouTube, I'm going to look at people who comment on this on the YouTube channel. And then what I'm looking for is people who are asking questions that show me that they are more interested in lead generation.
Okay.
Either from the B2B side or from the B2C.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because then I'm going to go and I'm going to look up their profiles. I'm going to do a little more research. And part of my relationship building, before I even reach out to them, I look at their profiles. I look, as I said, look up wherever they're most active.
Yeah.
And I make sure that I'm commenting on some posts that they're doing.
Yeah.
They're doing a post, I'm going to comment. They're doing a LinkedIn, I'm going to comment. But then there's an amazing tool that I'd also like to share with you if I
Of
could,
course.
because it is a huge
I
help
love
in finding
tools.
qualified people. Okay. So if you run your LinkedIn on Chrome,
Yeah.
because the extension, it's a Chrome
Yeah. Yeah.
extension. So it's called My Most Trusted.
Yeah.
Now, what My Most Trusted does, it's not a scraping tool. It doesn't do any of those things that will get you in trouble with LinkedIn. It's a very simple concept created by a really wise man from Australia. So I connect with you. I say I'd like to add you to My Most Trusted network. All it does is create another list of names. It creates a new list of names for you. These are people that you actually know. So you accept my connection request, and then you look at this and you go, oh, I want to create my own trusted list of people
Mm-hmm.
that I really know. Well, then I can look at your list of most trusted contacts. And one of the things I'm looking for would be people. In your case, you would look at my list and you would say, who in there fits the category of being potentially empty nesters? Who would I like to know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And rather than reaching out to them cold, because then you have to do all of these steps that I mentioned beforehand. You have to post on their
Yeah. Yeah.
LinkedIn and comment and everything before you reach out. Rather than doing all of those things, you reach out to me because they're on my list and you say, Brenda, I'd like an introduction to Susie Smith because she meets my demographic and I'd like to get to know her better.
Yeah.
And then I say, well, usually in my case, what I do is I ask you some questions about why you want the
Yeah. Yeah. Of
introduction,
course. Of course.
because I want to know if you're intending to sell or to relationship
Yeah.
build.
Yeah.
And if you're relationship building, I do the introduction. Now you have a warm introduction. It speeds the whole process up.
Mm.
So you can do it in probably 2 conversations before you go directly into that one-to-one call where you're talking about your solution to their potential problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like now that you mentioned that, like I think when we had our first conversation, I don't know if it was you, but I got your most trusted. It must have been you because that's the only time I heard about it. And then I didn't know what to do with it. I think we made a connection, and I don't know exactly. I don't remember. I would have to go open the browser, but when you have, let's say, I have, for example, the people I had interviewed so far, my hundreds or whatever people I have interviewed. Let's say I feel because I have interviewed them and I know them because we had that great conversation. We had at least 2, 3, 4 conversation, if not more, because sometimes I interview my friends, sometimes interview people like you that I met a couple of times. And so if I put them in my most trusted, so once they're there, then what?
So once they're in my most trusted, then you can use that list. It's a speedy way to invite people if you're hosting an event, if you're running any kind of a seminar or anything, because it will actually, you can use the same criteria from LinkedIn. You can say, I only want to invite people in Canada to this
Yeah,
event.
yeah.
So then it will create a list of all your Canadian contacts. And when you click send, it's going to send out invitations to all of them.
The most trusted one.
All of the most trusted ones. You can go through that list and you can eliminate people. So if there's people that you don't want to invite, because actually, no, it goes, my most trusted will actually look at your whole contact list.
Okay.
We'll look at everybody in your contacts and then we'll say, do you want to invite all of these people? Do you only want to invite certain people? But then you can go through and you can eliminate the people you don't want to invite. I have people on my list on my LinkedIn who I worked with in my last jobs.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
not really
yeah,
interested in my entrepreneur
yeah,
journey.
yeah, yeah. I understand that.
So I'm going to take them off before I send
It was
out
like
the
I have my
invitation.
sisters. I have, like, I mean, they're not
Yes,
my
yes,
audience.
absolutely. Absolutely. But
I
then
still love you
the
if you're
other,
listening, even though I say you're not my audience. I'm just in case, But my sisters.
and we love our
No,
sisters,
yeah, we
don't we?
do.
We love
Yeah,
our
of
sisters.
course we do.
Yes. So once you have your most trusted
Yeah,
list, there are you continue to cultivate those people, right? You're going to continue to relationship build with them.
of
When
course.
you do posts, you may want to tag some of them occasionally when you do
Mm-hmm.
posts. You always, yep, another tip, always remember to give more than you take. So if you're going to tag somebody so that your event, so if you wanted this interview to show up on my LinkedIn and you tagged me so it would show
Mm-hmm.
up, then I always make sure that I promote twice as much as I ask for promotion. So I do those things. And then when I open up my list, I go to people's names. You're on my most trusted list. So we go and I look at I click on you. I look at your most trusted. If you never use it, it's never going to help you. So when you open it up, you look at the
Can't
contacts.
help it. I gotta go
So
look now.
if my friend Daniel, for example, you see my friend Daniel and that I trust Daniel, and you look at Daniel and you say, oh, I think I'd really like to get to know Daniel because he would know people who are empty nesters, or he would know people who are empty nesters, either way. Then you come back to me and you say, can I have an introduction to Daniel? I want to get to know him because I think he would be a good contact for my business, but I understand and I'm giving away a secret sauce, so please don't deceive people because they'll catch on right
Yeah.
away. But you want to tell people I'm using this for relationship
Mm-hmm.
building. I
Mm-hmm.
understand I shouldn't sell on the first call. It doesn't. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter how you get a contact, how you get a lead, even if the lead is qualified. If you attempt to sell to them on the very first call, you're going to
Yeah,
turn them
of
off
course.
and you will have to work
The
twice as hard
the
ever.
only time it's legal legal to sell on the first contact is when if you have a store and somebody walk into your store and you're selling stuff to them and they walk there because they showed an interest to buy, but otherwise they're just like I've had a situation where I go just for networking. When I do one-on-one, I just say, "Hey, I just want to get to know you. I want to know what you do. Want to see maybe if there's something in common that we can support one another for, how I can support you." And it happened in a handful of time, probably 3, 4 time at least, that I go into a Zoom meeting and then there's like two people there, right? And he said, "Oh, I got my sales manager with me, and this and that." I said, "Why? I don't want to know your sales manager. I want to know you." And then it was like, "Oh, what did I?" One time I just walk out. I said, "Sorry, I'm not here to be sold to buy your system, product, services, whatever. I just wanted to have a one-on-one connection. And what they're doing, it's not something that interests me, right? I didn't want to spend an hour, and I was just." And another time, what happened is that the person, I always, as I'm like that, right? I ask question. I'm always asking more questions than I talk, and then I start. It's like who's going to throw the gun first? So I try to jump in first and get them to talk first, and then the call was 45 minutes, and like 35 minutes later, the person finally said, "Oh my goodness, I've talked the whole time. I didn't ask you any question." And I was like, "No, that's fine. Thank you." I was like, "You're so self-centered that in reality I don't really want to continue a connection with you." They were all about their service and what they offer and how people can work with them and this and that. I was polite. I let them talk. I was like, okay, see how long it will take them to reciprocate or to show interest into me, as opposed to just looking at themselves in the mirror and listening to themselves. So it's important. A tip I would suggest also, and I'm sure you agree, is even though if the other person's asking you a question, well, turn around, right? Say, "Oh, but tell me about you." Be polite and be curious about the other people too.
Yes. So a tip on that I learned from an amazing sales coach from Australia, my friend Misty Hinkle. She wrote a book called Overcoming Obscurity, and then her second book, How to Go from No Sales to
Mm-hmm.
Sales. Misty teaches that when you start your one-to-one, don't be, if you initiate it, if you ask me to meet with you, don't be afraid when the call starts to set a framework.
Uh-huh.
So the framework can be, gee, I'm so glad that you're taking the time to meet with me today. These are kind of my goals. I'd like to get to know you better, know more about what you do. And this is something that I add. I tell them I'm probably not buying anything, but you don't know who I know who may need what you do.
Uh-huh.
And so if we take a few minutes, each of us take a few minutes to share what we do, who we help, and how we help them, then we can see if there's any point in going any further or in booking another
Yeah,
call.
yeah.
Another tip is agree on the length of time you're going to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you booked a 30-minute getting to know you, some people are going to talk for that 20
I know that's what
minutes.
happened to me
And
in that
then
call, right? It's like,
they think they have all day, right? They have nothing else booked. So, we can go another 20
no, we
minutes and you
can't,
can tell me.
no, I have somebody
That's
else
right,
after
we
you,
can't, because you look at the time and you go, oh,
My time's
I
up.
have another meeting
Yeah,
booked.
yeah.
So don't be afraid to set the framework. Set a framework, have a framework. Don't be afraid to establish it right at the beginning. It doesn't make you seem pushy. The other person is probably going to appreciate it, in fact, because then they're a lot of times they're coming in and they don't know what to expect either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a great tip. Wow, look at the time. 36, 37 minutes in, time flies. We could talk about all day. That's why the people I invite, those that listen to my show, they say, yeah, you always say that. And it's true. I could, we could chit chat forever. And I actually look on LinkedIn, and you're not the one that showed me about the connection on trusted connection, because you're not a trusted connection of mine. So somebody else talked to me about that. So we have to become trusted connection for sure.
Yes, we
Yeah.
do. Yes, we
And
do. One last thing about the My Most Trusted, just because you add someone as a trusted connection doesn't automatically make you on their trusted connection
but
list.
are they notified when you
I will get notified. I will get a message that says you've added me,
okay,
and it invites me to install the app if I haven't installed the app.
okay,
But even if I have the app, it'll notify me that you've added me.
and then you get to choose to add me to
You
your
make a
list or not?
decision whether you want to
Cool,
reciprocate
cool,
or whether you don't want to
cool,
reciprocate.
cool. Awesome. So how can people reach you? Because do you have like a smorgasbord of information that you could share with people? So the best way to reach you, and we talk so much about LinkedIn, so I guess it's LinkedIn, right? Link,
LinkedIn is the best
LinkedIn.
place to find
Yeah.
me.
So there you go.
It's Brenda Marie Sheldrake. Although when I'm in conversation, you're welcome to call me Brenda Sheldrake. But when you're looking for me on LinkedIn, that's how you find the profile. It's Brenda Marie Sheldrake, and I'm the biz leads expert.
Wonderful. And so it's running right now at the bottom of the screen. So if you're watching the replay and you want to write it down, just press pause, and then you can you can write it down. And you have a little gift also for people. So what's that gift about?
I do. I have a guide that goes into more detail on some of these steps on how to build quality relationships and how to take them from the lead to the prospect to a raving fan or a qualified buyer.
And I love the raving fan, because there are people that would never buy from you, but they won't shut up about how amazing you are. So these are the raving fan, because they're just like you're just not their audience. They're like, for me, if I'm, I work with empty nesters, but somebody that has 10 years old could be in love with what I do, and she hoped that I'm still in business in 10 years so that she can hire me, but in the meantime, she'll talk to all her friends that are becoming empty nesters and refer her to me. So these are the raving fan, in case anybody people were wondering, what are raving fans, you know
And the bonus of having raving fans is that when they refer somebody to you, they are probably in 9 times out of 10 referring somebody who already needs your help.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same as them walking into, same as you having a brick and mortar store that someone walked into and picked up that coffee cup, and they want to buy the coffee
Yeah,
cup.
yeah, yeah. Or the
When
girlfriend
they're
that walks
referred,
with her girlfriend into that clothes store saying, see, I see that dress here for you. That dress would look good on you. You know,
you can sell to them. You don't. Now, I would still say work on
of
building some
course, of
relationship
course.
with them, because you want them to keep buying from
Yeah,
you. You
yeah,
want them to keep referring to
yeah.
you, but you can sell much more quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. You can skip a step, of the trust, because they already have the trust coming from the raving fans. So don't push away people that are not buying from you, even though they're cheering for you, because these could bring you great referral and great leads for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, that was so amazing to get to know you more and to hear more. Oh, sorry, my foot rest just fell. Brenda, to get to know you more. And so just stay there. I'll be right back. I'm going to go close the show. Just stay there. Wow, I hope you enjoyed this. And even if you're not an entrepreneur, as I mentioned, like, how do you talk to people? Because people know people that knows people that knows people. So whenever you need something in your house, so let's say you're just, you have a job and you go 9 to 5, and but you all need a hairdresser, all need someone to do your nails, you all need someone that, maybe one day you'll need to remodel your bathroom. So who do you know that knows someone that knows someone that, because when it comes from someone, it's a lot more trusted than just opening the web and searching bathroom repair person, because you have no idea who these people are. So lead generation can come whether you're a consumer, whether you're a business. And it's always important to put the person first, and then after that go into the getting to hire them or to have them hire you, regardless of which side you're in. So I hope you appreciate that talk. And again, I would like to encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't be shy. There's lots of video out there for you to look at, to listen. Amazing guest. And I have the tip of the day that comes out 4 times a week. And also, if you want to have a talk with me, I would love to have a conversation with you. So book a call with me, and we can go from there and get to discover one another and build a relationship where maybe you know someone that could use my service, or maybe you want to be on my show. So let's just start by a call, and then we see where that leads. So I wish you an amazing week. It's a beautiful day. And until next time, enjoy life, have fun, and be kind to one another. Goodbye.